Aaron Siegel, better known to Foundation members as 05-1, descends into the abyss of a deep well site. He exits the elevator and peers into the optical scanner to unlock the reinforced door. Inside the room is Mobile Task Force Tau 5, Samsara. Aaron Siegel refers to these immortal cyborg clones created from the flesh of a dead god as his red right hand. Your mission is to eliminate the traitor 05-4 and to find the insurgents who have been killing the members of the Overseer Council. The cyborgs stand at attention. Now! Aaron Siegel screams. The soldiers of the red right hand march out the door to start their mission. Aaron Siegel pauses for a moment and then slams his fist against the wall in frustration. He has lost 9 Overseers to Calvin Lucien and his Kill Squad team. They have been somehow overcoming the odds each time and eliminating each Overseer they track down. It wasn't supposed to end this way. Aaron Siegel vows to kill them all. Calvin Lucien, meanwhile, sits on a private jet with Adam and Olivia. He had just hung up the phone after a conversation with 05-4. The Overseer known as the Ambassador wants to surrender to the insurgency. There's a good chance this is a trap, but Calvin has decided to meet with the Ambassador all the same. Calvin drops off Adam and Olivia at an insurgency base. They still haven't fully recovered from the previous mission with 05-5, known as the Blackbird. Before leaving, though, Calvin meets with an insurgency agent named SYLVESTER SLOAN, who is going to join him as support. Calvin says goodbye to Adam and Olivia, then leaves with SLOAN to meet the Ambassador in South Africa. After landing at Johannesburg Airport, Calvin and SLOAN disembark and are led to a conference room where the Ambassador sits waiting for them. Calvin and SLOAN sit across from 05-4 to discuss his surrender. "The Council is in shambles," says the Ambassador. "Everything is falling apart. I want to offer my services and information to the insurgency in exchange for protection from 05-1. He has lost his mind." Calvin agrees to the terms and prepares for extraction. But as they get up from the table, gunshots can be heard from down the hall. The Ambassador's eyes open wide in terror. "It's too late," he whispers. Calvin and SLOAN grab the Ambassador, who is frozen in fear, and exit the conference room. They make their way towards their plane, but the gunshots are getting closer. Calvin looks over his shoulder to see Samsara pursuing them through the terminal. Calvin shoves the Ambassador behind a table as bullets whiz overhead. Calvin and SLOAN return fire, but their volley doesn't seem to slow down the assassins. Calvin and SLOAN pull the Ambassador to his feet, and they burst through an emergency exit onto the sun-baked tarmac, where they make a mad dash for the plane. From behind them, a bullet rips through the chest of SLOAN. The red right hand has caught up, but Calvin continues to drag the Ambassador towards the plane. They are almost there. Suddenly, a metallic child's voice blares through the airport's external speakers. The child's voice says, "I want Calvin Lucien alive. I have business to settle with him." The red right-hand soldiers tackle Calvin and the Ambassador to the ground when they are just feet away from the plane. "Kill the traitor," the child's voice says, and Calvin can only watch helplessly as the Ambassador is violently murdered. One of the agents turns towards Calvin and slams his fist into Calvin's face, causing him to black out. Calvin awakes in a dark room. He is unsure how much time has passed. The only light in the room comes from a screen on the wall. In the middle of the screen is a rotating red SCP Foundation seal. A voice from a speaker speaks. "Hello, Calvin Lucien. My name is the Kid. I am the 3rd Overseer. You have killed all my friends, and now I will kill all of yours." The door to the room opens. Calvin leans through the doorway. There is a long, dimly lit hallway. The Kid orders him to proceed so they can meet face to face. As Calvin walks, the Kid's voice echoes down the hallway. "There once was another 05-3. He built incredible machines, even one that could see into the future. But unfortunately for him, he did not have the passion required to be an Overseer. That was when I was born. I was chosen by the other Overseers to have my spinal cord severed in a way that gave me the ability of the all-seeing eye. I now watch everything, all of the time. I have perfect reasoning, perfect awareness, and perfect understanding." Calvin gets to the end of the corridor, which opens up into a large chamber. Tied up in the middle of the room are Olivia and Adam. Calvin runs to his friends and crouches down next to them. A mechanical suit stands on a platform looking down at Calvin, Olivia, and Adam. Calvin realizes the Kid must be contained inside. "I now sentence you all to death," the mechanical suit says as the red right hand steps out of the shadows and slowly walks towards the remaining members of the kill squad. Suddenly, there's a flash of light, and the Black Queen appears. "Stop! What are you doing?" shrieks the kid. The Black Queen hands Calvin the interdimensional rod and reel he used to defeat the Blackbird. Calvin casts the rod. From out of the terror in space comes a massive, multi-armed creature known as Maladramygion. The red right hand engages the monster, trying to force it back into its dimension, but the monster is too powerful. It grabs the cyborg clones and pulls them through the tear in reality. As Samsara battles the Maladramygion, Calvin frees Olivia and Adam. They make a run for the door, but as they flee, one of the walls opens up to reveal a turret. The gun fires, and a bullet hits Olivia directly in the head, killing her instantly. "No!" yells Calvin. Before Calvin can push Adam out of the way, a second bullet from the turret lodges itself in Adam's back. Calvin and Adam slide across the floor. The kid in his mechanical suit jumps down from the platform above. "I'm going to kill you now, Calvin Lucien," he says in his mechanical voice. There is another flash of light. Calvin watches in front of him as the spear of the non-believer manifests itself before his eyes. Calvin grabs the spear and shoves it into the kid's machine body. It easily penetrates the armor and pins him to the wall. Calvin walks up to the exoskeleton and tears off the outer plating, revealing a tank full of fluid, within which floats a malformed human fetus. As Calvin finally looks upon the kid's true form, he hears the sound of mocking mechanical laughter. Calvin breaks the glass and crushes the kid with his bare hands. As Calvin turns from the now silent robotic body of the kid, the room begins to shake, debris raining down from above. Calvin helps Adam up and puts Olivia's lifeless body across his shoulders. What remains of the kill squad makes their way out of the kid's lair. Outside of the Foundation site where they were being held, Calvin helps Adam lie down on the ground before gently setting Olivia's body next to him. Adam grimaces as blood pours out of the wound in his back. Calvin reaches into his pocket and pulls out the vial of water from the Fountain of Youth. There are only a couple of drops left, which he pours into Adam's mouth. Adam looks up at Calvin, tears filling his eyes. He whispers, "I love you," before he passes out from the pain. The wound in his back begins to heal instantly, and Calvin calls an insurgency evac team to come pick up Adam. With Adam safe, Calvin picks up Olivia and walks alone towards a truck in the lot outside of the Foundation site. He needs to finish this once and for all. He will kill the last two overseers, or he will die trying. 05-1 Aaron Siegel arrives at where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers meet, the Garden of Eden. He is in a frenzy due to the assassinations of all the other overseers besides himself and the Nazarene, and nothing will stop him. As he approaches the gate to the Garden of Eden, though, he is stopped by the Guardian of the Garden, a massive, powerful, anomalous entity with a flaming sword. But Aaron Siegel has no time or patience for anything to get in his way, even something as powerful as the Gate Guardian. The Guardian swings his burning sword at Adam, who rolls out of the way and, in a flash, takes out a Scranton reality anchor. He slams the anchor into the ground, which causes the world to shimmer and ripple around him. He watches as the flames from the Gate Guardian's sword seem to absorb back into its body before it shrinks down, looking to fold in on itself until all that is left is a charred skeleton. With the Guardian defeated, Aaron sprints into the garden. He searches the garden for 05-2, but can't find her anywhere. He finally comes to the Tree of Life, and that's where he finds her. Laying at the base of the tree in a pool of blood is the Nazarene. She has taken her own life. This is her anomalous power, though. She has died many times before, yet death always spared her and brought her back. But somehow, he knows this time is final. Aaron drops to his knees and screams in frustration. For all the power Aaron Siegel possesses, there's nothing he can do now. He sits next to the Nazarene's body for hours, hoping that she might wake up, or that he will, to find that this was all a dream. After sitting next to her cold body for some time, he notices something in her snowy white hand. It's a note. In it, The Nazarene explains that she was the one who gave the vials from the fountain to Calvin Lucien, and that she is the one who made the spear appear before him that he used to kill the kid. She explained that while she died many times and death always brought her back, each time she felt less and less like herself, less and less like Dr. Sophia Light. She hoped that maybe if things ended up like this, it would give Aaron the chance to walk away and live the life that they might have been able to have together. But she knows deep down that Aaron's fate is to meet Calvin and finish things once and for all. Aaron Siegel screams in rage, clutching the node in his hand. He tries to summon death, but no one comes. Aaron Siegel is alone. He stands up and walks deeper into the garden. He walks until he reaches a spot where even God's light does not reach. In this desolate land is an impact crater where Lucifer, star of the morning, had fallen. In the middle of the crater lies Lucifer's sword. Aaron Siegel descends into the hole and picks up the sword. He turns and exits the Garden of Eden. Aaron Siegel has only one mission in life now: to kill Calvin Lucien. Calvin reads the final entry of the journal. In it, the author warns that although he hopes the information contained within the journal is helpful, he hopes the reader does not try to use it. The words written on the final page are, "This information will only lead you to a devastating end." Calvin closes the journal and looks up at the structure in front of him. He has made it to Site-01. He had left Olivia's body in a cave nearby, promising to her that he would make this right. He now walks up to the massive doors and places his hand on the knotted wood. The doors slowly creak open. Calvin pauses for a moment and looks behind him at the setting sun. He enters Site-01, where he knows 05-1 is, where Aaron Siegel waits. Inside the main hall, Calvin sees a giant doorway in the shape of the SCP Foundation seal, with artistic depictions of certain SCPs that he instinctively knows are special in some way. Standing next to the doorway is a 2-meter-tall man in what looks to be a futuristic suit. Calvin approaches and asks who this giant man is. He responds that his name is Purpose, the Red Right Hand. He is the guardian of 05-1, and none shall enter the sanctum until he returns. "He isn't here?" asks Calvin. "No," Purpose responds. "He is." And with that, he steps aside and lets Calvin pass through the doorway. The doorway leads into a large room where screens on the wall flash to life, depicting moments from Calvin's journey, documenting his entire quest. Had he been in control at all? Or was this all a setup to lead him to this moment? As he walks forward, he finally sees him. Sitting at a table in the middle of the room is Aaron Siegel. "You're 05-1? Calvin asks. "Aaron," the man responds. "My name is Aaron." Calvin asks about the location of the second overseer, the Nazarene, but 05-1 doesn't respond. Without needing any more information, Calvin pulls out his sidearm and in a flash fires off 5 shots. The bullets stopped in the air, inches from Aaron, before dissolving in a flash of light. Calvin should have known it wouldn't be this easy. "Stand up, Aaron Siegel," Calvin calls up as he holsters his gun. "Let's finish it." Calvin pulled the spear of the non-believer from his back, but Aaron's only response was to laugh. "You don't even know why you're here," Aaron said. Calvin calls back, "I'm here to kill you, because when I do, I kill the Foundation. Because when you're gone, the universe can finally heal. You're like me, Calvin Lucien. We are both men driven by our own convictions, regardless of the outcome. It would seem fate has brought us together. Now either your convictions will be broken or you will die," says Aaron Siegel. He then draws Lucifer's flaming sword and lunges towards Calvin Lucien. As the two men clash with one another, their supernatural weapons begin to destroy the room around them. Furniture is shattered, video screens are obliterated, and fire spreads across the walls. Aaron catches Calvin off balance and swings the flaming sword across Calvin's stomach. Calvin slides back from the impact, hunching over from the pain in his midsection. He brings his head up to see Aaron Siegel running towards him with the flaming sword high in the air. Calvin brings up the spear. From his knees, he leans back and launches it towards Aaron Siegel. The spear enters the final overseer's chest, the force from the throw pinning him against the wall. Aaron Siegel drops Lucifer's sword. It shatters as it hits the ground. He clutches the shaft of the spear protruding from his sternum with both hands. O5-1 looks at Calvin unbelievingly.
You have no idea what you've done. It was never about the overseers,
Aaron Siegel says, spitting out blood with every word.
It was something deeper, something worse.
Calvin walks slowly towards Aaron Siegel. He stops just in front of his final enemy. This is the way it ends, Calvin says. Aaron Siegel manages to whisper one final word,
Sophia,
before his body finally goes limp. Calvin turns to see Purpose standing behind him. He's dead, Calvin says, half to Purpose and half to himself. I killed him. After a moment, he asks Purpose what he really wants to know. There's a room in this facility where someone could unmake the foundation, right? Take me there. Without any hesitation, Purpose leads Calvin back to the room with depictions of important SCPs. There, Purpose opens the door to an elevator, but stops Calvin before he can get inside. I am duty-bound to tell you, Purpose says, that once you step inside this elevator, there is no going back. There is only one decision to be made, and it is not one that can be unmade. I know, Calvin responds. It's time, before stepping inside. The elevator opens a door to reveal a room filled with bookcases and a huge window offering a beautiful view of the sun setting behind the mountains. On the wall are monitors depicting the ways he had killed all of the overseers, and in the middle of the room is a large desk with a computer. Calvin sits down at the desk and the computer comes to life. The computer prompts him to scan his fingerprint, which it accepts. He's logged in. The computer screen displays numerous locations around the planet, and he quickly recognizes that they are all SCP Foundation sites. Then he sees the single option the computer is giving him: terminate. Calvin reaches out with his finger. This is it. Once he presses this button, the SCP Foundation will be no more. His finger is millimeters from the button when the phone rings. Calvin hadn't even noticed that there was a phone on the desk. Calvin stares at it for a moment, then picks it up. Hello, he says. The voice on the other line responds. Hello, Calvin Lucien. My name is the Administrator. I've been following your work for some time now, and I must say I am impressed. I have just been informed that you have completed your mission. Congratulations are in order. What the hell are you talking about? Calvin asks. Please listen, says the voice on the other line. The man you just killed was once in the same exact position you are in now. Granted, it was a very long time ago, but Aaron Siegel originally was trying to destroy the Foundation. That was until I convinced him otherwise. And now, like Aaron Siegel, you will become the new head of the Foundation. Like hell I will, yells Calvin. I could hang up and walk away right now and be done with all of this. You could, continues the Administrator, but if no one is in charge of the SCP Foundation, millions of people will die, if not billions, and then nobody would be there to manage what comes after. There is silence from Calvin. That's what I thought, says the Administrator. I look forward to working with you, Calvin Lucien. Or should I say, O5-1. The line goes dead.